Welcome back. Today we're going to go over 2-4 dividing with exponents. And this one, the objective we're going to look at is dividing monomials using power rules. So with division, we're always going to be looking for quotients. So our first property, as we've gone over, we already covered 3, but our first one today is called a quotient of powers. And what that does is we have this a to the m divided by a to the n. If they have the same base, then I can take this bottom one and subtract it up here on the top. So I go a to the m minus n. And a can never equal 0 or else this doesn't work. So as we go through here, all I do is quick practice as I notice they have the same base. So if they have the same base, I bring up this 2 and I get rid of the rest to give me a 3 to the 4 minus 2, which is a 3 squared, which would equal 27. Or sorry, 9, excuse me. And as we go through this next one, we have an x to the 7th divided by x to the 3rd. And if I go through that, I notice the quotient of powers means I take up that 3 and minus it from the 7. And that will equal an x to the 4th. Now, with that in mind, we have an easy check here. This is if you're like, I don't understand, why do we do this? Why don't I divide 4 by 2 or 3 by 7? I don't understand that. Well, if I write this out in expanded form on top and expanded form on bottom, what is 3 divided by 3? What's the same number divided by itself? And if you realize that, it should be 1, which means that it doesn't affect our problem. We just cross it out. So I have 3 divided by 3 is 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1. I cross off 2 of those, and you'll notice that I'm left with 2 3's left over, which is 3 squared. I could do the exact same thing down here. I have x to the 7th, which is 7 x's, and I have x to the 3rd, and same number divided by the same number equals 1. So I cross off those, and I am left with 1, 2, 3, 4 x's. X to the 4th. So that's why you don't have to do this check, but it's a good way to say, where am I going wrong? What can I do to fix it? And it should help you be able to work through that. So with that in mind, we're going to simplify each one of these expressions. So I want to know the quotient of this one, which we use our property. As I go through there, I notice the top minus the bottom, and that gives me just x. B is similar. I have an a squared b cubed over a squared b to the 0. So I take just the same base, a, and I combine them. Then I take the same base, b, and I combine them with subtraction. And then I go through there and I notice it's going to be a to the 0 times b to the 3rd, which is the same thing as b, or 1 times b to the 3rd, which is the same thing as just b to the 3rd. This last one looks tough, but there are 3 pieces to it. We have the 5's, the x's, and the y's. So just take it a piece at a time. I have the 5, which is a 6 minus 3. I have the x to the 8th minus 4, and a y to the 5th minus 4. And that simplifies to 5 to the 3rd, x to the 4th, and y to the 1st, or just y. Our next problems, they throw in a few things that look a little bit difficult, but they're not. We notice that we have numbers over here, we have r's right here, we have some numbers and some letters and some more numbers and some letters. Let's just take a piece at a time. So I separate that out. I have a 72 divided by 9, and then I'm going to use my property, which states that I can take this same base and I can take the top number minus the bottom number, which gives me an r to the 15th minus 4. 72 divided by 9 should be 8. And I get r to the 15 minus 4 is 11. So 8r to the 11th. The next one seems not too bad. I have a negative 2 divided by negative 2, which same number divided by itself. It should give me 1. And then I have an a to the 5th and just an a. So I have a to the 5 minus 1, which gives me 1 times a to the 4th, or just a to the 4th. So our next piece here, we'll notice I have a 7 divided by 49, so I separate that out, and then I have a y to the 8th and a y to the 2nd, so I do y to the 8 minus 2. And then from there, 7 and 49 can be both divided by 7, so I get 1/7. And if you're like, whoa, wait, what happened? Remember, I divide 7 by 7, 49 by 7, and I get 1/7. And then 8 minus 2 gives me y to the 6th as my final answer. Our last part today deals with listing questions. Now, from here it says list 3 different monomials whose quotients is 6xy to the 4th, which means here's your answer. What question could give me this answer? So as we go through here, your answer is 6xy to the 4th. So we need to list 3 questions that equal our answer here. And specifically, we can't just write whatever we want. It says here the questions need to deal specifically with the quotient. So I need to make a division problem that equals this answer. So starting out, I'm going to go ahead and put my divide line, and I need something that's going to equal 6. So I have some number divided by another number that equals 6. So let's just choose, I don't know, let's say 12. If I pick 12, what divided by 12, 12 divided by what equals 6? And if you think about it, it's going to be 2, so I could have a 12 and a 2. Then I go through here and I'm going to pick some x, so I pick x, and I'm going to say to the 3rd power on this one. Well, how do I turn it to just x without anything? On the bottom there, if I subtract, I notice it needs to be a 2. 3 minus 2 equals just the x. And then last but not least, if I choose y to the 5th, what needs to be on bottom for it to be 4? It needs to have just a y. So here would be one answer. 12x to the 3rd, y to the 5th, divided by 2x to the 2nd, y. And it's as simple as that. So you just pick stuff that gets you this answer. So this next one, if I pick 60, how could I turn 60 into 6 by division? I would divide by 10. 60 divided by 10 is 6. How would I get x to the 8th to turn into just x? Well, that means I'd have to minus 7 from it, so I need x to the 7th on bottom. And then if I pick y to the 4th, notice it is y to the 4th. Do I need a y on bottom? And the correct answer on that is no, I do not. I have a y to the 4th, that one is finished. Our last equation that we're going to write, the last question part, we're going to go through here. I'm going to pick 6 as my answer, and I notice I don't have to divide by anything because it already is 6. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick x, and then I'm going to pick y to the 18th. So I have a 6x y to the 18th. How do I turn y to the 18th into y to the 4th? And that gives me y to the 14th, so that means I have to set that up this way. This is a good answer for this problem. It's not much work. I only had to divide by y, so that's great, but that should help you out on the rest of your assignment. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help out. Otherwise, hope you have a great day.